Hello, Robert Wallace here. I'm going to go through a few quick things that I think will instantly improve your relationship to the law of attraction as a spiritual or Christian person. The reason why I place the emphasis on the subject matter is because a lot of people in the subject matter of The Secret, the law of attraction, metaphysics, this whole genre, find themselves spiritually conflicted. And, aside of that, it helps to know the ancient spiritual scriptures that support this idea, because it helps you to activate it easily in your life. It helps you to understand from a different angle with a different vernacular the concepts that you're taught as you are trying to gather in all the information you can on the subject of the law of attraction. So let me go through a segment real quick, tell you about myself. My name is Robert Wallace. I've been a Christian for my lifetime, and the subject matter was provocative to me when I first came into it. Now, admittedly, when I first got into the subject matter, I was driven primarily by making my life more comfortable and attracting things that will make it more comfortable. And as I got deeper into it, I realized that to really make the sorts of adjustments that a person has to make in order to get the results, it became necessary to change my inner man, the way I thought, the way I perceived the world, my relationship to the Creator, and so on and so forth. And as a result, I began to look all over, not just from these metaphysical authors, but from all religions, the Bible, through Buddhism and all sorts of different places. And I tried to find support and clarification for these concepts. And you know what? What I found out was it's been under my nose the entire time. And what seems to happen, though, is that we get these concepts in front of us, we take them for granted, and a lot of times we discard them and we go looking for something new, some new doctrine, some new spiritual philosophy. And what ends up happening is a person can miss the whole point of their spiritual journey, of the help that has been already given them, because of everything else that's in there. So they don't understand this story or that, and so they decide to discard all this wisdom that actually is the backbone and really makes it a living spiritual philosophy, something that can be applied and really mean something to you. So let me get right into it. I'm calling this Law of Attraction Bible Proofs. And whether you are a Christian or not, you're going to appreciate this, I'm sure. But if you are, you're going to appreciate it doubly, because a lot of Christians have no idea why they're not getting the things they pray for. And that's really what this boils down to, is that the law of attraction is prayer. To pray is to summon into your life through a request that you put out to God, or the universe at large. Matter, energy, space, and time being the components of this universe, which is really who Jesus is. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And nothing that was created without Him. And so, of course, I butchered that a bit, because that's not exactly how it goes, that latter part. But all things are created through Him. Now, our relationship to matter, energy, space, and time are significant, because if we don't understand what everything is made out of, energy and the atoms and the molecules and the structures and then the forms that they seem to take, then we might go about this whole visualization process or expectation a little bit amiss, or with such a wide expectation, not knowing which way it's going to come from. But as we see, this hologram that we live in isn't that far off from the dream worlds that we go into when we sleep. And we see how things can instantly manifest there. And so we understand the nature of matter, energy, space, and time, and how it relates to our thoughts and our frequencies. So in Mark 11:22 through 24, we read, "And Jesus answered them, 'Have faith in God. Truly I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, 'Be taken up and thrown into the sea,' and does not doubt it in his heart, but believes that what he says will come to pass, it will be done for him. Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." So this goes right back to asking without the doubting component trailing behind it. And then it happens. And this is so. I've evidenced it in my life, and many have, and you can too. But most of the time, people miss that part, believing that you have received it, or with no doubting. That part goes out of the head. So Proverbs 18:21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits." Yes, what you say, you'll essentially get. Now, we're reminded in the movie The Secret that the positive thoughts have many more times of an effect than a negative thought. Being of a lower vibration, they have a lower power behind them, which requires a lot more of their efforts to manifest or equate to what happens in the positive realm more effortlessly or more instantaneously. So it's important to recognize that if you're complaining about a situation, if you're disparaging, if you have a negative disposition about a thing, you're going to tend to attract that. Even if it is negative, it will eventually come to you if it's coming off your tongue. The tongue. That sounds like a whole different discussion. "And whatever you ask in prayer," Matthew 21:22, "you will receive if you have faith." That's Matthew 21:22, "And whatever you ask in prayer, you will receive if you have faith." So the subject of faith, as extrapolated in the Bible, faith is the belief in the things that are not seen, and it's the power for the promise of what you hope to have manifest. So what does this mean? Your expectation is vital. So if you have this belief that it will come to pass, whether you like it or not, it's going to come to pass. And I've worried things, believing they're going to happen. They do happen. And then I'm either saddened because I didn't take heed and reroute my thoughts, or I'm glad that my thoughts were listened to and they did manifest. In Matthew 12:34-36, we read, "For out of the abundance of the heart," now I'm skipping into this because Jesus is talking to the Sadducees, saying, "You brood of vipers, how can you speak good when you are evil? For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. The good person out of the good treasure brings forth good, and the evil person out of his evil treasure brings forth evil." So this taps into that heart of what I began to realize when I got into the subject matter, and that is whoever I am internally is going to affect what I am going to be surrounding myself with. The people, the events, circumstances, things of that nature. So it's vital that you cultivate a more pure inside person, a thought life, spiritual knowledge, cultivating wisdom and understanding, compassion, patience, and then looking at the idea of the knowledge that you're given so that you can see the wisdom in it. The wisdom is really the application of knowledge, or the application of knowledge is wisdom. And so if you're looking on a deeper level in introspection, you're going to start to see broad horizons of consequences that most people are not going to perceive. In fact, it is very difficult to articulate some of the broader understandings of wisdom. It's almost impossible to articulate it because wisdom really needs to be experienced. So, again, that goes back into cultivating your inner self. This power, that's why when somebody studies this information, the first time they watch it, right, what are they manifesting? A lot of people don't manifest anything really in particular on purpose. They pray and the prayer doesn't seem any more answered. It's because it's like tying a shoe. You can't watch a person do it once and get it. You have to you have to practice it yourself, and then you get it, then you get adept at it, and you can start to do, fun tricks and tie it in different ways. And so likewise, it's important that you internalize this information, because so much, it's like a camera lens. A really good camera lens has multiple lenses actually within it in order to optimize, and each one of these lenses might be akin to a different understanding, a level of patience, a level of righteousness, a level of purity that is maintained, a level of discretion in what a person is asking for, a level of discernment. And because of those different lenses coming together, you get a very fine focused view. And if you're missing some of the pieces, you might get a staticky sort of unclear manifestation. So you might say, oh, like a car. And then because you're missing some of these lenses and understandings and you're not really oriented the best, you might get a car. It might be a Matchbox car, though, And so as you start to get clear about what you think and feel on all these levels, it will make sure that your thoughts are heard more soundly and more crisply and sharply. And it will also speed up the manifestation, because you're going to instantly position yourself emotionally, mentally, while you're asking, so that you can receive them more quickly. And that is important, because if you are not situated emotionally, which I think is a big one, I know is a big one, that's really what so much of this comes down to. A person can be unable to speak, okay, and yet they can still use their thoughts and bring in circumstances into their life. The thoughts, the feelings working together. So if you have angry feelings about a thing, that's going to impact your relationship to it. It's going to impact what the outcome of your relationship with it. If you have happy or loving feelings about it, you'll bring about a happier, more loving situation or setting surrounding the thing of your discussion. Romans 10:17 says, so faith comes from hearing, and hearing through the word of Christ, or by the word of God. So, what this comes down to is your communication to the spiritual realm, to your spiritual self, to your religion, your spiritual philosophy. This is going to enhance your connection to the infinite. So it's quite important that you're studying some spiritual philosophy. Particularly Christianity is a very strong way to go. In fact, as a Christian and from a biblical perspective, I advocate this because it is the understanding that Jesus is the only way that a person can get to heaven. Jesus being the Logos, the Word, you could say matter, energy, space, and time, but our relationship to it is one thing, but the significance of it is that there's an atonement factor you're not going to find with other religions. This deals with your bad karma, your past debt, your sin debt, and if you don't handle that, that can actually follow and hinder you and prevent you from, with a clear conscience, being able to ask for something with the expectation of receiving it. You still have this stuff lingering around you. It's still cluttering up your mind. And through a repentance and through this discussion with God after the acceptance of Jesus, the atonement for that past sin, you are able to make a request, and it is able to be heard, because even the prayers of a sinful man are an abomination unto the Lord, according to Proverbs. Now, that's according to somebody who listens and hears and turns away. So I should actually quote that correctly. Whoever hears instruction and turns away from it, even his prayers are an abomination unto the Lord. Because we're all sinners, but if you hear the instruction and you decline to heed it or to listen to it, and then you still go and ask for the stuff anyway, do not think that your prayers will be answered. Matthew 7:7, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you. Very, very true. It's very, common along these ideas. And Luke 8:48, and he said to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. Remember, this is the woman who had the the issue of blood, and she had menstrual issues, and she touched, and was it that she touched because she believed? And that belief is the same belief that's going to get you your healing. It's the same belief that's going to bring you the circumstances that you need in order to have a more peaceful life. Okay? Because it's not just spiritual things, which I really think that this is the true heart of this whole matter, because you can have all the things in the world. You can be born into beautiful material things, but your inner man could be suffocating and dying. And that's really what this is going to boil down to. How is the inner man? Are you happy on the inside? I read something recently. It said, can money buy you happiness? Yes, only up to $75,000 a year. Now, obviously, money cannot buy you happiness. It's your perception of your circumstances and what you choose to think and believe about them. That's really going to determine how you feel and whether you're going to be happy. But their point is you'll have your needs met. And God doesn't forsake the righteous. If you look on the poor, if you don't turn away from them, he'll never forsake you. So if you keep the spiritual precepts or laws, then you will be cared for, your needs will be met, and it's like the word says, I've never seen a righteous man's begging for bread, or even his son begging for bread, So God will take care of you, but you need to take care of that inner man first, and all this other stuff will fall into place. So for a lot of people, the priority is things and then spirit. It needs to be spirit and then things. Because you create these anchors that are going to keep you out here, and as soon as you manifest something, what do? You're going to go run to them, and you're going to expect them to keep you satisfied, but as soon as you have that new car or that new home, it's just a matter of time before it becomes a little less fulfilling, a little less sensational and exhilarating for you. And you think, well, I'm okay with that as long as I'm in the house in the end of the story. But you can be in the biggest house in the world, and if your soul still isn't right with God, you are not a happy person, and you're lost even if you delude yourself with all of your possessions. So again, it's really important that we consider this true